Hello and welcome to the Analog Toys collection room. It's been a long time since I've done a video quite like this, but since I bought a whole bunch of new furniture and some new display cabinets, and I've got a lot more toys out on display than the last time I did a collection tour, I thought now was the right time to put together another video like this. Come along for the ride. I'm going to take you through the entire collection. We've got Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Rambo, G.I. Joe, Action Man, Action Force, all kinds of cool vintage toys on display here in the room. So sit back, relax, and stay tuned.
Come with me, toy fans.
And let's start with the Star Wars collection. And where I want to start is up here with my X-Wing collection. These are all vintage. On the left there, we've got the original Kenner white version. In the center is the second edition grey Kenner version. And then on the end here, we've got the Palitoy version with the battle damage stickers. Obviously the Palitoy version didn't have the light and sound features. There's no battery compartment. You can tell there's no red LED bulb in the nose cone there. And then moving around the wall, we've got the Millennium Falcon hanging there. Didn't have a cabinet big enough to put the Millennium Falcon in, and I just think it looks great displayed hanging from the wall like that. Now moving along the top, we've got a bunch of original Star Wars packaging boxes and a few of the larger vehicles, again ones that don't fit in display cabinets. So the original Empire Strikes Back AT-AT, we've got the B-Wing there, the TIE Interceptor that I got at Joe Fest last year, and the Darth Vader TIE Fighter that was gifted to me by my good friend Michael French of Retro Blasting. Now let's get into the cabinets here, and there's a lot of Star Wars to go over in this particular area, I should say. Let's start over here with the Kenner Death Star playset. As you can see, we've got a lot of stormtroopers in there. Ben Kenobi disabling the tractor beam. That Tarkin, that's from the Hasbro Retro collection that came with that stupid board game. And here we've got a vintage Last 17 Luke with the Stan Solo Han in Stormtrooper disguise. A vintage Leia. One of the really good things about the Death Star, one of the things I like about the way it's displayed here is that you can actually see a lot more of what's going on in the playset when you display this in an elevated position. I used to have this down kind of just below waist height or around waist height, and you couldn't really see what was going on in this middle section here. So I'm very pleased, and it was a happy accident, I thought I need something to put on the... I used to have the Millennium Falcon on the top of this cabinet. I put the Death Star up there, and as soon as I put it up there and put figures in, I was like, this looks so much better in this elevated position. All right, now moving along to this cabinet and the top shelf, we've got a bit of an Imperial display going on here with an original white Kenner TIE Fighter that I got from Reclaimers Vintage Toys. We've got a TIE Fighter pilot there, a Darth Vader, a Death Star gunner, and the Anakin Skywalker. And there's the Cap 2 in there, my favourite mini rig. Here we've got the second edition TIE Fighter, the blue version that came, I think it was Empire Strikes Back, or it might have been early Return of the Jedi when that one came out. But there's the Emperor with a couple of the Royal Guards and the Imperial Dignitary there. Now coming down to a bit of a Bespin shelf. We've got the twin pod cloud car there with a couple of Bespin guards. There's a Lobot, the Ugnaught, Bespin Han, Chewbacca with the removable C-3PO in his backpack, a gorgeous Bespin Leia that was also gifted to the channel by my friend Michael French. We got both versions of Lando there, one with smiling teeth and one without. At the back, an original vintage Boba Fett with the Stan Solo movie accurate Boba Fett next to him, and a couple of stormtroopers carrying the Han carbonite block. They're right behind the Slave One. I need to replace the stickers on this. These are already replacement stickers, but they weren't very good ones. I put them on years ago and they're peeling off. So in that envelope there, I've got a new set of replacement stickers. I just need to get around to putting them on the vehicle. And here are the bounty hunters from The Empire Strikes Back. Forlom, Zuckuss, Dengar, IG-88, and Bosk. This shelf here is kind of a... This is a Tatooine shelf, but this is specifically from the first Star Wars movie. So starting off here, we've got some Tusken Raiders with the incredible Stan Solo Bantha. And the Ubrikian 9000 Landspeeder at the back there, also from Stan Solo, alongside the two versions of Snaggletooth. Now down here, we've got both versions of Han, large head and small head Han, and another vintage Chewbacca, with Greedo, Walrus Man, the Gonk droid. Coming around here, you can see the Snoot Spy, or Garandan, whatever he's called, from Stan Solo. And then we've got some of the heroes. So C-3PO, R2-D2, Luke and Ben, next to the Landspeeder, alongside some Jawas, an R5-D4, Hammerhead, and the Dewback being ridden by another Stormtrooper. Okay, moving one shelf further down, staying with the Tatooine theme, but this time moving to Return of the Jedi. Here is basically my Jabba's Palace display. So we've got the Rancor Keeper there, and a whole host of Jabba's goons, for want of a better term. At the back there, we've got the Rebo band that was very, very kindly donated to the channel by my friend Michael Schaefer. Thank you very much, Michael. Moving around to the front, obviously the big Jabba the Hutt action figure with the Stan Solo Slave Leia. A recent acquisition, which is from the last 17. I've got the Han and Carbonite there. Lando and Leia in their bounty hunter disguises. Two versions of Jedi Luke, one with a green saber, one with a blue saber. Yak Face and a Gamorrean guard. Now this is kind of a Rebel Fleet sort of shelf. At the back there, you've got the Tantive 4 hallway playset from Hasbro from a few years ago, or maybe just 1 year ago, I don't remember. It's an absolutely crap toy, it really is. But I picked it up because it does make a good backdrop for some videos. But I'm displaying in here the Y-Wing that I restored a few years ago, the kind of shell and some of the parts of which were donated by, again, Michael Schaefer. And here we've got some Rebel pilots and Lando General and that kind of thing. Right, let's move over to this bigger sort of square cabinet. And on the top shelf here, we have got the Hoth, I think they call the Imperial base when it should have always been a Rebel base, but got a whole bunch of my Hoth Rebel fighters here. Both versions of the Tauntaun, the Closed Belly and Open Belly. A few of the key characters like that beautiful Hoth Leia there. Then coming down here, we've got the Snowspeeder, the AT-ST, a bunch of Imperial troops, flanked by the Wampa, who's about to chomp down on Hoth Luke. And Hoth Luke there, you can see I've given him a blue lightsaber because that's what they always should have done in the original toy line, is given him a lightsaber, because he never even used that rifle he came with. It was a stupid idea. So he looks a lot better with a blue lightsaber in his hand. And now down to my recent acquisition of the Ewok Village action playset. And I was so happy when I figured out that this could actually fit inside this cabinet, because it makes for such a great display piece. Down here we've got a few of the Rebel heroes from Endor. A couple of speeder bikes. One of them I picked up very recently. I've had a speeder bike for ages, but I wanted a second one. We've got the Ewok glider there, about to drop some boulders on the biker scouts. Leia and Wicket. We've got Prune Face, Chief Chirper. And then moving up here, we've got some of the more rare last 17 Ewoks. Recent acquisition of Lumat and Warrock on the left, and then Paplu on the right. I just need Romba, and I have purchased one. He's in the mail. That is the last Star Wars action figure I need from the main run. And then I've got a complete collection of the action figures once Romba arrives. Over the back there, you see C-3PO in his throne. We've got Han roasting up on the spit. A couple more Ewoks in the back. Alright, and that's pretty much the Star Wars collection. There is one more shelf down the bottom here that is not Star Wars. This is kind of a TV kind of shelf. So here we've got a whole bunch of Mego Star Trek action figures. And then in this side here, we've got Michael Knight with the Knight 2000 kit car. A Remco Secret of the Ninja because it just made sense to go with Michael Knight since he fought ninjas in that one episode. And then backed up by the 6-inch Galoob A-Team. I've got a lot more A-Team stuff, but you'll see most of the 3 3/4 inch stuff sits behind me on the shelves when I make my produced videos in the studio. So we've got Hannibal, Face, BA, Murdoch, and poor old Amy Allen, the ugliest action figure in the world.
Do or do not. There is no try.
Right, now we've got some really special stuff in these cabinets here. On this top shelf, this is kind of my Desert Rat Focus collection. We'll start over here. Those are two of the original Action Man Long Range Desert Group figures with uniform, which the original Palitoy Action Force figure was based off of. So I've got the two figures there with a custom desert helmet that I painted up a few years ago. And behind them is a very rare original carded version of that particular outfit. On the side there, we've got the Action Man Desert Bubble Bath bottle, which I like because there is an image of Desert Rat on the packaging. A bunch of loose Palitoy Action Force Desert Rat figures. Behind them, the very rare carded version of that particular figure. Here is a unpainted test shot of the Stan Solo version of the 3 3/4 inch Desert Rat figure. Bobby gave that to me when I was in the States last year. Absolutely stoked to have that in the collection. There we've got a Jungle Rat. That was a custom made by Ray Murphy. Oh my God, my mind went black for a moment there. Ray, I absolutely love this Jungle Rat. Thank you very much for gifting it to me. He takes pride of place here in the Desert Rat collection. And moving around here, we've got a selection of 4 of the loose Stan Solo Desert Rat figures with the Desert Gaiden behind him that was gifted to me by a man named Trent at Joe Fest. The Combat Kangaroo, who is obviously the pet of Desert Rat himself. Now that is the Desert Rat figure dead center in the screen here. That is a retail release Desert Rat with the addition of the Desert Rat flag that was gifted to me by my friend Keith Knight. Behind that, we've got a production sample of Desert Rat. As you can see, there's a lot of unpainted details on the vest. There's no tattoo on the right sleeve. Behind that, a carded version of the Stan Solo Desert Rat that was signed by Bobby Valor. It was the first one he opened and signed, and he gifted that to me, so thanks again, Bobby. And here we've got the original Paint Master of Desert Rat that Bobby sent to me a couple of years ago now. I absolutely love this piece. It's probably my favourite piece in the entire collection because it was the first any kind of version of me as Desert Rat that I actually received. So I absolutely love this thing. And behind him is a packaged version of Desert Rat, the 6-inch Valorverse version, that's been autographed by both Bobby Valor and Ron Rudat, who I met at Joe Fest. And on the side there is a copy of issue 8 of Action Force Mission Files, a story that features Desert Rat, once again autographed, personally autographed by Bobby Valor. Absolutely love it. Moving down here, we've got a lot of other prototype stuff. So the Condor at the back there, that's not a prototype, that is an original Valorverse Series 1 Condor in the package. But that is sitting behind this original Paint Master prototype that was from the first Kickstarter. Bobby sent this to me out of the blue a couple of years ago, and I absolutely love it. This is actually going to be featured in my upcoming Action Force Series 4 video. You'll understand why when the video drops. Now we've got an original boxed Action Man Captain Zargan Space Pirate there. And in front of that is a couple of test shots of 2 different versions of the Captain Zargon head that was gifted to me by Greg Hughes. Also gifted to me by Greg Hughes are these 2 prototype Action Man weapons. We've got a rifle and a submachine gun there. These were designed for an early wave in 1980 and never actually got produced. So very, very pleased to have these sort of one-of-a-kind Action Man prototypes in my collection. Moving around to some more prototypes. So here we've got the original Palitoy Action Force SAS, which was a scaled down version of the original Action Man S.A.S.K figure. And in front of that is a whole bunch of prototypes gifted to me by Bob Breakin, who was the chief designer and brand manager for Action Force at Palitoy in the early 80s. So here we've got a metal prototype version of the SAS figure. There's the standard figure in the middle. Here is a resin version that's seen a little bit of damage. He's lost his lower left leg and his hand, and a few test shop parts in the front there. And I thought with all of these kind of Action Force / Action Man prototypes in this cabinet here, it would make sense to put my Series 1 Palitoy Action Force underneath them. So I've got all the Series 1 figures here. I think the only thing that's not on display is the Action Force headquarters. I've got that in a box up there. It's just too big to display when it's fully assembled. But as you can see here, on top of the SAS figure and the Desert Rat figure up here, I've got another 6 carded examples of figures from Series 1. The Commando, the British Marine, the Orange Frogman that I love, the very rare Australian Jungle Fighter that I got at Joe Fest, the German Stormtrooper, and the SAS Frogman. So that's 8 of the Series 1 figures. There's still a few more for me to get carded, but I have all the loose examples here, including the vehicles. A fantastic little display there. Right, now moving down to a shelf that will probably interest my friend Michael French, or a couple of shelves I should say. Here's my Indiana Jones collection. So we'll start over here. That is the custom Action Man Indiana Jones that I produced, that I put together for my video Indiana Jones and the Missed Opportunity, which was all about the untapped potential of what would have happened if Palitoy had brought Indiana Jones into the Action Man toy line. Behind that, we've got a boxed version of the Kenner 12-inch Indiana Jones action figure, which is more like a Ken doll than an action figure. A smattering of other kind of random indie figures from the retro collection. So we've got a couple of Temple X Doom figures and a few Last Crusade figures at the back there. This is the original piece of tank tread from the stunt tank seen on screen in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. That was gifted to me by Jeremy Kerr at Joe Fest. Thank you very much, Jeremy. It's a prize piece in the collection. Behind that, I've got the Raiders of the Lost Ark board game, the Indiana Jones Temple of Doom thermos, which obviously goes with the lunchbox there. Behind that, we've got the Temple of Doom and Last Crusade storybooks. And then there's the complete collection of LJN Indiana Jones action figures with the Giant Thuggy, Indiana Jones, Mole of Rum, and a piece from the Well of the Souls because it just didn't fit anywhere else. And down here we've got the complete collection of Kenner 3 3/4 inch Adventures of Indiana Jones from 1981, I think, or 1982. The Desert Convoy truck with the German mechanic. We've got the map room playset. We've got Indy there on the Arabian horse. A few of the bad guys. The gorgeous Well of the Souls playset with the original box. There's that gorgeous looking vac metalized Ark with Sala, Indy, and a mint and complete Marion Ravenwood that was gifted to the channel by my friend Michael French. I feel like I've mentioned him a lot. My friend has gifted me a lot of really cool toys over the years. And now down to the bottom shelf here is my kind of Mego World's Greatest Superheroes collection. So we've got Joker, Robin, Superman, Removable Cow, Batman, the Riddlers at the back there, Green Arrow, Shazam. There's a boxed Penguin, a carded Batman, a boxed Spider-Man, the Batmobile in there with Tarzan, Captain America, Green Goblin, Iron Man, The Thing, Falcon, Conan at the very back that I picked up at Joe Fest last year, and Thor. Now this cabinet here is a new acquisition to the collection room. I picked it up at IKEA, and when I'd finished assembling it and putting it into the room, I ended up with this kind of dead space in the corner. And I was like, you know what? I've always wanted to display my Action Man training tower, but it's so tall, there's never normally anywhere to display it. And I was like, it's going to fit perfectly in that dead space in the corner. So there's an original vintage Action Man training tower with an Action Man basic soldier climbing the cargo net and the British Army officer at the top yelling out some orders. Right, now we kind of move over to a very 80s themed shelf. Bunch of toy boxes along the top there. There's my vintage G.I. Joe Tomahawk. I love that toy. Couple of Rambo items here. Interesting note, that Savage Strike Cycle, that is a mint and sealed toy. I've got a great childhood memory of receiving that for Christmas in 1987. I've got a complete loose version there, but when I came across this on eBay a bunch of years ago, and I was like, I don't have a lot of sealed toys in my collection, but if I'm going to own a sealed toy, it's going to be the Rambo Savage Strike Cycle from Coleco. So here we've got my Rambo collection with a whole bunch of carded figures at the back there, including Gripper and Sergeant Havoc, Firepower Rambo. And we've got White Dragon, Troutman, the Defender Jeep, both versions of Rambo with Cat, Sergeant Havoc, Black Dragon, Gripper, who's one of my favourites from this line. I absolutely love this line. This was the last real toy line that I got into before hitting puberty and deciding I didn't want toys anymore, which that didn't last long. Nomads on the back of the Strike Cycle there. There's the rare second wave whip action Warhawk that I got at Joe Fest this year. And behind that is, he's got no accessories, but that is also a rare figure from the second wave, that's Snakebite, and that was gifted to the channel by Keith Holmesley. And then the version 1 General Warhawk from the Coleco line. Now we get down to a couple of shelves of G.I. Joe, and the way I wanted to display this was basically to have a G.I. Joe shelf and a Cobra shelf. So we'll start over here with the incredible early issue Vamp Jeep that was gifted to the channel by Mvargo97, thank you Michael, with a bunch of early issue Joes. Some straight arm, some swivel arm, but it's, I really need to fill out this collection of the original 13 Joes, but they're not very easy to find. But it was important for me to have a representation of the Real American Hero line in the collection so I could see, you know, where it all started from. And behind that, we've got Checkpoint Alpha with Barbecue and Law and Order. We've got the Dragonfly there with Wild Bill. Now this is my era of G.I. Joe, my favourite era. You know, Flint, Lady J, Bazooka, Shipwreck, Snake Eyes version 2. That's my kind of era. Here we've got the amazing Mauler tank. This thing is really impressive. It's very, very hard to get in complete condition. And I'm lucky enough to have this in my collection thanks to a whole host of supporters of the channel who all chipped together. I'm sure I'm going to miss out a few names here, but I want to thank Jody, Michael Schaefer, Scuba Pete, George Aitken, Joseph. A lot of people chipped in together to get me this incredible toy. And there's Heavy Metal riding up front. At the back here we've got some Joes from a little bit later on in the 1980s, but a few of my favourites. Version 2 Storm Shadow, Falcon, Steel Brigade, General Hawk, Tunnel Rat, Outback, and Hit and Run. I love the camouflage face paint on Hit and Run. A few more items here. This is quite an interesting one. When Recondo was released into the Palitoy Action Force line, he was not available on a single card. He actually came back in with this Silent Attack kayak. Excuse me, I just belched. A really cool piece, and I think I had the figure already, but George Aitken sent me that kayak, so thank you very much, George. And there we've got the Havoc from, I would have got that toy in 1988, I believe, and the Snowcat with Lifeline, Dial Tone, and barbecue. Sorry, not barbecue, blowback. That's barbecue over there. I do know my Joe, don't roast me in the comments. Now down to the Cobra shelf. So here we've got Scrap Iron with the Night Landing. The Night Landing, it's a small, cheap little toy, but one that I just absolutely love. I don't know why, but I love it. There we've got the Cobra Bunker with some Vipers and some other Cobra troops. Here we've got the Dreadnoks. I've got Zartan, Torch, Buzzer, Ripper, and Road Pig back there with the Dreadnok Cycle. Then we've got the Cobra Moray. This was gifted to me by Jody, thank you very much. The Water Moccasin at the back there, and then some of the Cobra Command elements. We've got the Hooded Cobra Commander with Destro, Baroness, Firefly, and version 1 Storm Shadow. A few of my favourite Cobra troops. We've got a couple of Snow Serpents, a couple of Crimson Guards, and the Cobra Bat. Behind them, a couple of Ferrets, Crimson Twins on card, a Hiss Tank, the Stinger Driver, and the Eels. Now we get down to the Centurions shelf, and I'm probably going to forget most of these names. Depth Charge, Tidal Blast, I don't remember all of them. I've had these out on display before, but in a different cabinet. I really like the way they display in this cabinet here. Such a colourful line. There's the Doom Drone Strafer, Ace McCloud, Doc Terror and Hacker, and that envelope you see there, that's got some replacement stickers for a couple of the items in this shelf. Those stickers were sent to me by Michael Schaefer. I just haven't got around to putting them on the toy. I really need to do that. I meant to do it before I filmed this video, but I forgot, so we'll just move on. Now we get down to Kenner Mask, and I've got all of Series 1, including the Rhino, the Firecracker, and a couple of items from Series 2. There's the Outlaw. In the middle here we've got the Manta in the box, a gorgeous toy. And that toy was gifted to the channel by my friend Dean from All Things 80s. If you haven't seen the All Things 80s channel before, I highly recommend checking it out. I will leave a link in the video description below. So that's my kind of mask collection. Love this toy line. Now while my Palitoy Action Force Series 1 collection is displayed here, I needed a much bigger area to display the rest of Palitoy Action Force, because as they got into 1983, 84 and beyond is when we got all of the teams. People absolutely love collecting this line because of the uniformity and the colour scheme of all the different teams. It's really, really cool. So we'll start up the top here, where I've got the boxed excuse me, I've got the boxed Z-Force Command Center there, and the Action Force headquarters from Series 1. And then a bunch of carded figures. Some of these were gifted to me by Bobby Valor of Valorverse. Thank you much, Bobby. We've got 4 carded Z-Force figures there, 4 carded SAS figures. And then we get into the Red Shadows. Carded Mouton at the back there from George Aitken. This custom here from the Kraken Wakes of the unreleased Red Shadows Officer. Really, really love that piece, with a couple of Red Shadows figures. The Laser Exterminator with the Palitoy recolor of the version 1 Cobra Commander. The Hyena with Jackal in the back there. The Escape Armor with Baron Ironblood. The Black Major, we got the Kraken there. And of course, the Robo Skull. Such an iconic toy. Absolutely love that. From the brainchild of Bob Breakin, the chief designer and brand manager of Palitoy Action Force back in the 1980s. Here we've got the Space Force collection with the Triad Fighter, what's that, the Satellite Defense and the Cosmic Cruiser. This was probably the smallest team of all. Well, almost as small as the Q-Force actually. So we've got the Swordfish, the Sea Lion there, and a bunch of the Q-Force figures. Then we get to the SAS guys. Yes. The Silent Attack, which I've got the box for at the back. That's the SAS Wolverine, I want to say. Am I get that right? The SAS Panther with the Driver Stalker, which is a UK recolor of version 1 Snake Eyes. Hawk and Blades, a recolored version of the Cobra Fang. The Mobile Missile System. You gotta love the SAS. And now the Z-Force. So this is a section of the Z-Force Command Center. It just kind of looked cool on display here with the Z-Force Jeep up on its maintenance stand, ready for Gaucho there to do a bit of maintenance on the vehicle. There's the UK recolor of Stalker, he's codenamed now Jammer. A couple of Z-Force troops with the Z-Force main battle tank. Some armament weapons. Quarrel and the rapid fire motorcycle, a UK recolor of G.I. Joe Scarlet. And the ATC, an absolutely legendary Palitoy Action Force vehicle where they took the Hasbro G.I. Joe APC and then just pimped it out to make it so much better. And then a couple of the rare late issue Z-Force Troopers. We've got the Minesweeper and the Medic. Right, now we're taking a shift from the 80s back to the 60s. And this is a display of kind of Action Man Explorers. So we start over here with a couple of the Polar Explorers. You've got the Royal Canadian Mounted Police there. And that sled and dog team is just a gorgeous, gorgeous toy that has been in storage in the collection for a long time. I didn't want it in storage anymore. I wanted it out on display. So that's why I kind of picked this nice long shelf where I could get the sled and the dog team all out together. There's the Mountaineer with an original carded mountain rescue outfit. And then the original 60s Action Man astronaut with the Action Man space capsule. Now, if my knees will allow, we move down to the $6 Million Man shelf with a bit of Evel Knievel on the end there. So, excuse the light there, but on the left, that's Steve Austin, the $6 Million Man with a critical assignment arms and legs. Behind him is the Bionic Woman. We've got the $6 Million Man in his skydiving outfit. Mission to Mars, Maskatron. Oscar Goldman in the box at the back there. The first issue Steve Austin with the backpack radio. The Bionic Bigfoot. Second issue Steve Austin with the steel girder. Undercover assignment Steve Austin. And then a couple of my Evel Knievel pieces. We've got the stunt cycle and the chopper bike. Now again, I wanted to fill the dead space in the corner of the room in between the cabinets. So what better than to put here a mannequin that features a Valaverse Action Force Desert Rat item that not even Bobby Valor would own. This is the original, as worn in Iraq, uniform that I wore. It's not all completely original. The rubber on the soles of the boots fell apart and I had to throw them out the other day, and replace them. But we've got some 511 tactical clothing. That's my original Paraclete body armor with an original Velcro Union flag on the chest there that I wore. A Swedish Special Forces knife that I carried for most of my career. And I put the Boba Fett helmet on him simply because I think the mannequin just looks a bit, well, it's not exactly masculine, is it? The face on the mannequin, so looks a lot better with Boba Fett's helmet. And above there, hanging from the wall, we've got the G.I. Joe Sky Striker and the Cobra Rattler in a bit of a dogfight. I think they look really cool up there. Again, just trying to fill all the dead space in the collection room.
Do or do not. There is no try.
Action Man! Alright, here's my Action Man collection, or some of my Action Man collection. I still have a lot of stuff in storage. I don't have the space to display absolutely everything. particularly the vehicles. Most of them are in storage, but up the top there, a bunch of carded outfits and boxed figures. These nice display cases, I've had these for years. Got a few vintage boxed figures in the middle there, with my French only release of the Action Joe Zorro. He's kind of a standalone figure that doesn't fit in with the others. That's why he's not in a cabinet, and I kind of put him out here on his own. Let's move over here. We've got the Blues and Royals and the 17th 21st Lancers on their horses, with a few nice Action Man boxes behind them. And on the wall here, this print was gifted to me by Greg Hughes, who was an Action Man designer working at Palatoy in the early 80s. And he sent this to me with an autograph there that says, "Thanks to everything, Tony," from Greg Hughes, signed in 2021, with the original print being done in 1981. I absolutely love this piece. This is an unreleased concept art for an Action Man Special Team uniform. I very proudly display it in the frame here in the corner of the room. All right, 1960s Action Man. This shelf is kind of Action Soldier, Action Sailor, Action Pilot, and some really, really cool pieces in here. Moving further down, we've got the Action Man Soldiers of the Century. These are some really, really desirable Action Man uniforms and figures. I'm very pleased to say I've got the entire collection, including the quite hard to find Action Man Green Beret. Now this shelf, I've had a lot of these figures in storage for quite some time. These are Action Man Sportsmen. Now, the three figures at the front there, the Olympic champion, the judo and the cricketer, they're original figures on 40th anniversary reproduced uniforms. And I've had them in storage for a while because, you know, I didn't have space to display everything. So I thought I would pack these away because I wasn't really into them. But now that I've got them back out and I made this kind of Action Man Sportsman display with the Arsenal footballer and the sharpshooter footballer at the back there, I'm really, really loving the look of this shelf. I'm quite infatuated with it right now. Moving down here, we've got the Action Man team with the Enemy of the Action Man team, the Intruder. We've got Tom Stone. That's a G.I. Joe Mike Power Atomic Man with a Palatoy Atomic Man and a G.I. Joe version of Bullet Man. Up here we've got some of the Soldiers of the World. So they changed the name of this line from Soldiers of the Century to Soldiers of the World in the early 70s. Another version of the German Stormtrooper, the German Staff Officer, the very rare Action Man Escape from Colditz carded uniform at the back there featuring the Escape Officer, and the French Foreign Legion. Now down to the ceremonials, some of the most quintessentially British Action Man uniforms ever produced. The 17th 21st Lancer, that's the second one in my collection. I've got the one on the horse there, and then this guy here. A Grenadier Guard, that's the Royal Marine dress uniform at the back there. The Life Guard, the Blues and Royals, and the Argyle and Sutherland Highlander. What an incredible set of toys. I mean, they just don't make toys like this anymore. Now moving down to a shelf with a few more kind of adventurer types. We've got the 1960s Action Man Deep Sea Diver, along with the Red Devil Parachutist with the carded Red Devil Parachutist uniform at the back, the incredibly rare Action Man Space Explorer set, and the Underwater Explorer. Moving down to a very British shelf here, kind of like the combat version of these ceremonials. We've got the Royal Marine Commando, the Parachute Regiment with full parachute pack and shock helmet, the British Officer, the MP, and the Air Force working dress. Now, before I move on to this shelf, I think I forgot to mention this. This beautiful Action Man acrylic sign, which really sets off the kind of whole display. That was gifted to me by my friend and co-host of War Stories on the Retrobusting YouTube channel, Clemens, also known as Master Son 42. I love this piece, Clemens. It really, really does, as you can see, kind of set off the whole display. So thank you very much for that Action Man acrylic sign there. These are some of this is my favourite era of kind of boxed Action Man figures. So I've got the soldier, the sailor, the adventurer, and the helicopter pilot in there. This is the year when they first introduced Eagle Eyes. And Gripping Hands had been around for a couple of years. And this is a very rare reproduction of the original Gripping Hands sculpted by Bob Breakin back in the early 1970s. Very unusual piece. I think Bob only said he only made like 3 or 4 of these. And he gifted one to me when I was making the Story of Action Man documentary. So thank you, Bob. Here we've got some kind of mid-70s Action Man figures from what they called the wood grain box range, where all of the carded outfits had like a wood grain packaging design, with the Commando, the Sabotage, the Mine Detection, the Medic, the Field Training. Here's the SAS shelf with the SAS Talking Commander. You can see he's got the SAS badge on his cap there. We've got the Secret Mission, Parachute Attack, Underwater Attack. Gotta love the SAS guys. And now down to the Emergency series, or some of the Emergency series. I did a big feature video on these guys last year. We've got the Crash Crew, High Rescue, Underground Rescue, the Police Motorcyclist and Motorcycle, the Medic, and the Highway Hazard, with a carded fireman uniform at the back. Action Man soldiers, these are like late 70s, early 80s. The Action Man US Machine Gunner, US Paratrooper, British Paratrooper, Royal Engineers, Royal Marine Commando, and at the back there, United States Marine Corps. Down to a German shelf here, with a big focus on the Africa Corps. So there's my custom Africa Corps officer. Palitoy never produced this outfit, but it did appear in the 1981 trade catalogue as an item that they were planning, but they never followed through with that. The Panzer Captain at the back, both loose and carded. We've got the German Paratrooper, Africa Corps Lance Corporal, and the German Motorcycle and Sidecar. Now we have a Space Ranger shelf with the Space Ranger Commando, Space Ranger Captain, Space Ranger Talking Commander, and the Zargonite Pirate, and a few carded items at the back. And here we've got the Special Team. When the Special Team was first released in 1983 or 84, whatever it was, there were 3 outfits, which are these 3 you see here. The Ground Assault, Underwater Assault, and Arctic Assault. So I have all of those. Then in the following year, in 1984, they released at the back there the Missile Assault. It's one of the last outfits ever produced for Action Man. It's one of the rarest, and carded examples are insanely rare. With this particular example, I purchased this from Bob Breakin's personal collection. So to be able to have such a rare piece in my collection that also came from the collection of Action Man's chief toy designer is very, very special, and I'm really pleased to have this in my collection. Okay, we're almost done. We've now got the central cabinet, which is capped off by the Action Man Emergency Fire Tender. What a beautiful, beautiful piece. I picked this up a little over 12 months ago from the Leicester Vintage Toy Shop. You might know those guys from the Toy Shop and Tour YouTube channel. The acquisition of this toy inspired my Action Man Emergency Series video, and once I finished the video, this toy went back into storage. It went back in its original box because it was too big to display anywhere. And when I got the idea to purchase this standalone cabinet to put in the center of the room that I could walk around and have some more display space, I was like, this is the perfect item to put on the top of this cabinet. So I've got a bunch of Action Man firemen there manning the fire tender. It's just a gorgeous, gorgeous piece, and I couldn't think of a better place to display it. Oh, I love it, I love it, I love it. Okay. Now moving into this cabinet here, we've got some of my Lone Ranger collection. Again, I've got the wooden Lone Ranger Dodge City playset. I almost put that on top, but I'm glad I went with the Action Man Fire Tender. The colours just pop in here. So here we've got the Lone Ranger and Tonto on their horses. The rare Tex Dawson Sheriff. Dan Reed, the long-lost nephew of the Lone Ranger. Little Bear, red sleeves. We've got a US Cavalry figure there. Butch and his horse, which I think is called Smoke. And then my mind went blank. I don't remember this guy's name, but he's like the Mexican outlaw. I like him anyway. And now we've got to my 60s G.I. Joe collection. There's a bit of a police theme here with the Shore Patrol, the military police, and the air police. Then we've got the West Point cadet outfit, the dress marine, and the rare US Marine jungle fighter. At the back you can see I've got the 4 original box G.I. Joe figures, the Action Soldier, Action Sailor, Action Pilot, and Action Marine. And these boxes, unlike Action Man boxes where Action Man boxes used to open from the top and you'd slide the figure out of the top, these boxes came in 2 pieces where you could lift the lid off and you would see the figure displayed on the cardboard insert underneath. And I thought, well, with this being a glass cabinet that's glass all of the way around, I can display these in here like this, where I've turned the boxes around inside and you can actually see the original figures by walking around the back of the cabinet. That's where action figures all started, folks. It started with Hasbro's 1964 release of G.I. Joe. The Action Soldier, Action Sailor, Action Marine, and Action Pilot. So happy to have all 4 of these boxed in my collection. Right, now we move down to another shelf of 60s G.I. Joe. Some really cool pieces here. There we've got the Ski Patrol, the Combat Engineer, the Heavy Weapons, that's actually an Action Man version, the Marine Tank Commander, and then a bunch of Marines. The Combat Marine, Marine Communications, Marine Paratrooper. And finally down here, the Action Soldiers of the World. That's what Hasbro called it for some reason. When it was brought into the Action Man line over here, Palitoy changed the name from Action Soldiers of the World to Soldiers of the Century. But the Action Soldiers of the World, we've got here the German Stormtrooper, the British Tommy, the Australian Jungle Fighter, the Russian Infantry. That hat, that actually came out in the Action Man line in the early 80s as part of a Quartermaster's store set, and looks very different to the woolen hat that came with the others. But I thought, if I've got the Action Man and the G.I. Joe version in the collection, I don't need them both wearing the woolen hats. So I can have him wearing this rare and unusual Russian infantry hat. The French Resistance Fighter, and one of the prize pieces in my collection, the very rare Japanese Imperial Soldier. And they're all flanking a complete G.I. Joe footlocker at the back. So that's it. That's the Analog Toys collection room as it stands in March of 2024. Thanks for coming on this journey with me. Thanks for supporting the channel, leaving a like, leaving a comment. Please subscribe or consider supporting us on Patreon, where you'll get access to hours of exclusive content. I hope you enjoyed this ride, and I will see you in the next video.